It's another episode of the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast. I'm your host, Chris May. Thanks for joining us. Our guest today holds a spot on a mythical Mount Rushmore of Indiana women's basketball. She's accomplished things at every level of the game in the state of Indiana. She was the 1995 National High School Player of the Year, the Indiana Miss Basketball. She set the Indiana girls high school career scoring record of 2,869 points at Seeger High School. She was the star of Purdue University's 1999 NCAA National Championship team. She was named the National College Player of the Year, a two-time All-American, a 1999 Academic All-American of the Year, and she scored 2,182 career points at Purdue. Following a 5-year playing career in the WNBA, she embarked on a college and professional coaching career, including as an assistant coach on the Indiana Fever's 2012 WNBA champion team. She was head coach of the 2015 Indiana Fever WNBA finalist squad. She was the head coach of the Fever at the time of this interview. She now is employed as the head women's basketball coach at Vanderbilt University. One of our state's greatest basketball legends, Stephanie White, on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast. Tell us a little bit about how you started playing basketball.
There's really never a time that I can remember that I didn't play basketball. I have a picture of me when I was first born, and my dad's holding me in one hand and a basketball in the other hand, and so it's kind of gone on from there. And as long as I could walk, I think I've had a ball in my hand in some form or fashion. So it's really, I have no recollection of life without basketball.
Who were some of your early mentors playing basketball?
I didn't really have a lot growing up. I watched games, and when I watched games, I watched Indiana. My dad was an Indiana fan, so I watched the men's team and the Purdue men's team, and when I got old enough, some of the Purdue women's teams. But I didn't really see a lot of basketball on TV at a young age. And then as I got into high school and older, I watched the NBA. I watched men's and women's college basketball all the time. But really, I played with my dad and his friends. I used to call them the old guys, and now I realize they were probably my age at the time. On Sunday nights and Wednesday nights at the old gym in West Lebanon, I used to watch them play when I was young. And then one day they finally let me play. I don't remember how old I was, maybe 10 or 11. And so I feel like that's really where I learned the game of basketball. They taught me how to pass in front of somebody who's running to the rim. They taught me how to utilize a screen and the angles of a screen. All the fundamental things that a lot of kids aren't taught nowadays. All the little things that don't show up in the stat sheets, those guys helped me learn. And so really those guys were my mentors more so than anybody in the basketball world that would be recognized.
Do you think growing up playing with grown men rather than kids your age helped you?
I think it helped in a lot of ways. I think first and foremost it helped with my fundamentals. Because the guys could block my shot, and I didn't want them to not block my shot. I wanted to learn how to shot fake and get around them. I wanted them to steal the ball from me, so I got better with my ball handling skills. If I made a weak pass, I wanted them to get in the passing lane and get it. And I'm sure they took it easy on me when I was young, but at the same time, taught me lessons about the things that you had to do to be able. I wasn't the fleetest of foot, and I wasn't the most athletic player, but I had to learn how to play against those type of players, and those guys really taught me how to do that. They taught me all the intricacies of the game. I mean, it's so much more than just being able to put the ball in the hole. Angles on defense. One of the guys there, Rex Kronk was his name. He gave me a comparison of playing defense to watching a cutting horse. And if that's not a country reference, an Indiana reference, I don't know what is. But just watching how they use the angles, as well as just being able to be quick on your feet laterally, and those things really helped me, and those things really stuck with me. And I feel like those are the things that separated me as a player.
Growing up in a rural area, when was the first time or age you played organized basketball?
Yeah, my fourth grade was really the first time I got into organized ball, and it was on the boys' team at the YMCA in Danville, Illinois. They didn't have a girls' league at that time. I think by the time I was in sixth grade, we had a girls' league at the Y there, but I played with the guys. I played soccer in Danville growing up, and then I played Y ball with a lot of the guys I played soccer with growing up. And then, as a fifth grader, I was able to play on the sixth grade girls team because they didn't have enough sixth graders, and so on. But no, my whole career I've really played against the guys. There's not a lot to do in West Lebanon or in Warren County, and so every time we'd pick up the phone and we'd call our friends and say, hey, do you want to come over and play? And, majority of the time it was my guy friends, not my girlfriends, that came over to play. So it was really what we did for fun.
With Indiana's basketball heritage, it's a little bit embarrassing to think you had to go across the state line to play.
It absolutely is. It absolutely is. I think I got on an AAU team in Indiana when I was probably in 7th grade. But yeah, I mean, it just shows the difference in the times, that girls sports, not just in basketball, but in everything. Girls sports right now have taken off, and you can get into them at a young age. And, at that time, there just weren't a lot of opportunities for young female athletes. And, the benefit is I competed against the guys, and it got me to a position where I was a better player because of it. But now it's certainly nice to be able to drive around these country roads and see young girls shooting out in the driveways or shooting on the barn or, out playing hoops. It's a lot of fun.
You were Miss Basketball 20 years into the history of the girls' high school state tournament. How do you view your place in the growth or evolution of Indiana high school girls basketball?
It's funny because I never really thought of it like that. We certainly respect and admire what players like Judy Warren have done for our state. Not only all the Miss Basketballs, but the Indiana All-Stars and the ones who were all pre-Title IX athletes who paved the way for us to be able to do what we did today. Lay the foundation for the growth in our game. And I think for me, I just want to be able to continue that legacy and take our game to another level. Take our game to another level, not only with the female athletes that we have nowadays, but with the fans. I mean, getting the fans really re-engaged with our game, and having families that have daughters and even sons to bring them out and see the women's brand of basketball, because it is very different than the men's game, and it's a lot of fun to watch, and it's a lot of fun to be a part of. And certainly sport, everything that you learn through the game of sport transcends the sport that you participate in, and it's such good life skills, it's such good life lessons, and so really encompass the entire athlete, but hopefully take the sport to another level.
Tell us about playing at Seeger. What was the atmosphere playing there?
It was incredible. It was one of those things where you can't really appreciate it when you're playing in that environment and when you're going through it. It was just the community thing to do, to come out to our ball games. And, when we had to move our games from our gym in Seeger to Williamsport, which was the bigger gym at an elementary school, it's where the boys played, it was just incredible. And it was fun. And our buses would be pulling up, and we'd see lines of people, out trying to wait to get in line to get a ticket. And it was just really incredible the way that our community came together to support our team. And, people always ask me why I chose Purdue and why it was important to me to be close to home, and that's why. I was a community project, and I embrace being a community project. If it wasn't for my community, I would never have had the opportunities. We financially couldn't afford to send me to AAU Nationals or for me to go to all these camps and clinics and things like that. Our community came together to help me create those opportunities, and they're the reason that I'm here today. And so for me, that made it so special, and to be able to share those moments with our community in high school and college and the pro level is just really incredible, and I honestly couldn't have written a better script.
What was it like playing for a community that supported you like that?
It sounds a little cliche, but it was very much like Hoosiers, because you'd be sitting in the locker room and you would hear the chants, the Lady Patriots, Seeger Patriots, and you would hear the crowd, and it was just something that this little flicker inside of you that just burned really bright once you started hearing that, and the pride that came in the voices of all of those fans, and the little kids who are running around with faces painted with Patriots, and it was very emotional. I guess when you would think about when you get to that time at the end of your career, and it's the last time that you're going to hear that chant, and it's the last time that you're having that special moment. But at the same time, it just, when you look back on it and you think about, wow, the impact that we had on our community and the impact that our community had on us. I was really, really lucky to be a part of such a special group, but such a special environment. Not everybody gets to experience that, and when you're going through it, you don't realize it. But when you have an opportunity to look back on it, you realize really how special that opportunity was.
Were there ways you felt playing Indiana high school basketball prepared you to succeed at Purdue?
Well, I think one of the things about Indiana high school basketball is that you're going to get players that are fundamentally sound. You're going to get players that can dribble, pass, and shoot. You're not going to just get athletic players who you have to reteach the game to. And I think at each level, for me to continue to improve on things that I was already good at, but really make my weaknesses my strengths, carried over to the college game, because you're playing in a really small pool when you're playing in your high school atmosphere, playing against just players in the state of Indiana. We weren't traveling to national tournaments at that time, like a lot of high school teams do now, and so you really didn't get a grasp outside of the AAU basketball what it was like across the country. And so now you're going to a different level. And again, it's a tremendous learning experience. But I feel like I started with such a great foundation, learning the fundamentals from the guys at the gym, from incredible high school coaches. And our high school coaches are really, really good. They know the game, they understand the game, they get what it's about. More so than just the wins and losses, about teaching players how to play and about teaching players what it means to be a part of a team. And so I feel like when you have that foundation and then you go to the next level in college, you can really build off of that, take your game and take your team's game to another level.
Although you played at an in-state school, did being from Indiana get you any extra attention or recognition at that next level?
Yeah, I did. Of course, I did. It was and at that time, we had a lot of publicity. I think our team was ranked in the nation as well. I personally got a lot of publicity too. So, when you go places and people would recognize you and know that you're from Indiana, of course there's a sense of pride, and there still is. Anytime you hear college coaches talk about wanting to get a player from Indiana because they're going to be skilled, you aren't going to have to go back to the basics when you get them on campus, and that's one of the things that you really do take a lot of pride in.
Among Indiana women to have success in high school, college, and professionally, another person who stands out is Katie Douglas. What are your connections with her?
I played with her in college and pro. Yeah, it was fun. Obviously, growing up in Indiana and being an Indiana All-Star, and Katie and I played together, won a national championship together at Purdue. And then, we played against each other professionally. And then when I came back here, got an opportunity to coach her. So it was a lot of fun. You build great relationships with your teammates in college, especially if you're part of close teams and special teams. And Katie and I were part of a special team. And so it was really awesome. I mean, we had an opportunity to win a national championship together in college and win a WNBA championship together here with the Fever. So it was a lot of fun.
As an Indiana native, I would imagine it wasn't tough to say yes to coaching the Fever.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, this has always felt like home. Even when I was coaching in Chicago and we would come back here and we'd be the visitors on the visitors bench in the visitors locker room, it was still like coming home. I mean, the ushers were the same as when I played here. The people in the support staff are the same as when I played here. Our ball kids are now working in the organization. I mean, it has always been very much a peaceful environment for me. When I come here, it's home, and it always has been, and it always will be, regardless of whether I'm here or somewhere else. But it's that you really didn't have to twist my arm too much.
Is there anything else that stands out to you about your high school career?
I think, one of the things that people always mention to me when they talk about my high school career, we were very successful, coming from a small school, very successful. Never made it to the state finals. Always got beat in the semi-state or the Elite Eight or whatever it might have been. And people always ask me, what would it have been like for you to play class basketball? You would have won multiple championships. And I constantly remind people who haven't known anything other than class basketball how special it was to not have class sports. It was, regardless of winning and losing, for me to compete against the best every single day, and I'd rather lose to a Lake Central and a Gary West and a Valparaiso, to a team that was better than us, than beat teams that were the same as us. And I feel like we have such a rich history in our game, and a lot of it stems from that one class system. That's why people filled the stands, because they wanted to see Hoosiers recreated, every single year, and there were opportunities to do that. That's why you saw, gyms filled with Damon Bailey. That's why it's, special to be able to go play in Newcastle in the Hall of Fame Classic. That's why it's special every time you see lines of fans outside the doors, because it was special opportunities, and we were the only state that had that. And so the answer is no. I would never have rather won 4 state championships than gotten beat every single year by a bigger school, because I feel like those experiences were game changers for me.
Hearing you say that takes me back to your story about playing against your dad and his friends. Also in high school, you weren't afraid to play bigger schools, tougher competition. I'm
a competitor, and I don't want to just win. I want to be the best when you do win. But I also understand that it's more than winning and losing. Winning isn't the all get out. It's the lessons that you learn from everything that you're doing, from competing every single day, from knowing that you're not quite where you need to be in order to get to that next level. So then you go back to the gym and you start working again. I kind of equate it to school. I mean, if I get a B on a test, I'm going to go back and I'm going to work that much harder. I'm going to study that much harder because I want to get an A. I don't want the teacher to just give me an A because I want an A. It's just not reality. And so for me, the competition and the struggle and when it's not easy and getting kicked down and getting back up, I mean, that's all part of the journey. That's all part of the process, and that's the part that I love. Winning trophies and winning awards and winning all that is great, but the journey is so special, and the journey is what you remember.
We talk about atmosphere and crowds, all those sorts of things. What was it like for you as a competitor to be in those environments?
Yeah, it's more what you feel. For me, again, you don't really, when you're playing against an opponent and you're playing against fans in the stands, you don't hear everything that's said. You're not intimidated by who's on the other side. I mean, you play the game. And sometimes ignorance is bliss. You just go out and you play because you love it and because you love to compete, and you're not really aware of what's going on. But the roar of the crowd, regardless of what is being said, whether it's, the highs and the cheers or the boos and the lows, all of that is energy. All of that is positive energy, no matter what it is. And so for me, it's not necessarily, it's muffled sounds, but it gives you just a different kind of feeling when you run out onto the floor and you hear the noise and you hear the fans and you see the stands that are packed, and it makes you want to go out and play that much harder for all of those people who sacrificed to be there for you that day.
So after the buzzer sounds, the game's over. Is it possible for you to flip a switch and start to be affected by that environment, by that crowd?
I don't think we have that switch. I think certain people do that play, for fun. And we do play for fun, but there's just something there's something that separates certain competitors, and you don't have the on-off switch. When you go into the locker room, the disappointment of not winning or the elation of winning, the getting back to the drawing board, the what do I have to do to not miss that free throw that I missed or that layup that I missed or that turnover that I had. There's something that we're always striving for that's more than what is now. And I think in that sense, we're not always able to really realize the impact of the moment, to celebrate the victories, and to really, I guess, I don't know, to harbor the losses and kind of tuck them away. It's what separates the great from the good. It's what separates the elite from the great. But at the same time, I think one of these days when you're done and you're retired and you kind of shelve that piece of your life, you can look back and be like, wow, that's really incredible. And you might get cheated out of the moment, but at the same time, you're just wired to think about more, think about the next step, think about, where I'm trying to get to. And sometimes that's good, sometimes that's bad, but I think it's what we are. And so it doesn't allow us to turn a switch on and off.
Now, more than 20 years after it's over, do you recognize how important what you did was?
No, you don't, because you're not living in the moment. You're thinking about the next thing that you want to accomplish. You're thinking about the next goal that you have, or what's going to put you on the path to be successful at the next level. So you really don't enjoy the moment. It's we say it all the time that you really should take time and enjoy it. But the reality is we're not wired that way. You just don't. Some of us just don't enjoy the moment because we're always searching for a different form of greatness. We're always searching to make ourselves better. We're always searching for that next challenge. What are we going to do? How are we going to get better? How are we going to improve? Where do I go from here kind of moments. And so you don't really get an opportunity to do that until you start to look back. And, for me, I still think it's too early to look back because there's still so much more that I feel like I have yet to do.
To have been an Indiana Miss Basketball at Purdue and have a Purdue team that had expectations that you had, was there pressure? Did you really sense any pressure?
I don't think I recognized it. I think for me, the pressure is all about the pressure I put on myself. The pressure I put on myself to be successful, to be the best that I can be, to do whatever it is that I think I can accomplish every single day. It's certainly not any pressure compared to what the kids nowadays have to deal with social media and telephones and Twitter and all this other crap that they have going on. Then we had print media and rotary phones. That's about it. So, there certainly wasn't any external pressure. And for me, it's always internal pressure because it's a drive. It's a drive to get better.
So you've had success in high school and college as a pro. Now you're a coach. Honestly, is there anything you haven't accomplished that you wanted to?
I don't know. Certainly at this point in my career, I still feel like there's a lot to accomplish as a head coach, and wanting to be successful and wanting to put our teams in positions to be successful and our players in positions to win championships and create opportunities for them to get individual honors as well. When you think about the goal of getting a college scholarship, which was my first goal that I really ever had. An opportunity to win a national championship, and we were able to do that. And probably not winning a state championship might have been one, but wearing the Indiana All-Star jersey, playing at Purdue, winning a championship, winning a WNBA championship here. I would have loved to have won a championship as a player here, but at the same time, there's a shelf life on everything, and then we have to move on to our next challenge, and we have to move on to what it is that we're going to do after that. And I feel like all of those lessons that I learned through the game that I love have prepared me for this opportunity.
As a former Miss Basketball, an Indiana All-Star, and All-American, what advice can you give to kids who want to be in those types of positions?
I think the biggest thing is that you try to enjoy the moment. You really don't understand the impact of what you're doing. Again, like I said, because you're always thinking about the next big thing. And these guys are probably thinking about the colleges that they're going to go to and what they're going to do then. But really enjoy the moment. And more than anything, enjoy the journey. I mean, the people that you're with every single day throughout this process, the people that you've been with up until this point, I mean, the relationships that you build and the experiences that you have together, those are the things that I remember. Those are the special moments. I don't remember the numbers. I don't remember in college how many Big Ten championships we won. I remember a national championship, absolutely, but I remember that because of the group we were with, because we had special moments. And so I think take a little time to thank the people that are around you, to enjoy one another's company, to build true friendships and relationships, because there's a small group of people that are wired the way that we're wired, and those are the people that are going to be your friends for life, and those are the people that are going to be your competitors, your challengers, but also your support system for life. And so take advantage of that.
So you were breaking all kinds of records, your team's winning all kinds of games. So was it a foregone conclusion you'd be Miss Basketball? And what was it like when you got the call to tell you that you were Miss Basketball?
No, absolutely not. Especially in those days when we didn't have cell phones and we didn't have the internet and we didn't have I had no idea. Every day that I went into the gym, all I thought was nobody's going to outwork me. I don't want, whether it be somebody in the state of Indiana or somebody in the nation. I had this shirt that said something to the fact that, every day I'm not in the gym, there's somebody else is, and that person wants your scholarship. And that drove me. I wanted to be the best, absolutely. Now I have a little bit of a different perspective of what being the best and success is, but at the same time, I was driven because I felt like that somebody else was out there that was trying to take, whether it be the number one jersey, whether it be the scholarship that I wanted, whether it be the starting position that I wanted. I wanted to be the best, and it was that, and it was walking across the street to my grandparents with my two sisters. I wanted to win. We started in a walk, and we turned into a sprint. And we were just like that. Every family get together, we played wiffle ball, we played volleyball, and we wanted to kick each other's butt. That's just the way we're wired. And so, to me, I didn't have any idea. I really didn't know what was going on around me. I was very insulated in terms of tunnel vision and focus. And when I got the call, I was really excited because you finally feel like, at that point, all of your hard work has paid off, and it was an incredible individual honor, but it was a team honor. My team at Seeger, who nobody ever expected us to do anything, had great success, and I had awesome teammates, and we had really special opportunities to create things together, and those guys were just as much a part of it as I was.
Thank you, Stephanie, for your time and your stories. We appreciate them greatly here on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast. We want to remind you to join us online at www.hoopshall.com to visit the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame virtually, to see our museum, more information on our inductees, upcoming events, our online gift shop, and other ways you can support the organization. Also follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And don't forget, subscribe here to the podcast if you haven't already. Do so through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, or Stitcher. And of course, share this episode on your social media page to share with all your friends and family. I'm your host, Chris May. Thanks for joining us and listening to the story of Stephanie White here on the Indiana Basketball Hall of Fame podcast.